This is KGW News at 11.
And we begin tonight with a follow-up on a trend one mother says is out of control, the online glorification of stealing cars that is leading to spiking losses and growing frustration. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. Tonight we're hearing from a parent who feels she's caught in the middle. She's taking the unusual step of publicly pointing out that her teenage daughter is breaking the law. And the apparent lack of police action, she says, is making it worse. Catherine Cook has her impassioned plea.
They're still in these cars, wrecking them, or joyriding in them, wrecking them.
Cherie knows all about the Kia Challenge, the TikTok trend daring people to steal Kias and Hyundais.
Started with a charger piece, like this.
Videos show how to use a USB cable and other tools to do it. This summer, Portland police stats show thefts of those makes have more than quadrupled in Portland. Similar story in other cities. It all pains Cherie, but not as a car theft victim. It pains her as a mom.
I have notified the police, and because my daughter is involved in that.
Cherie says her daughter, who's 16, has been involved in at least 3 Kia thefts this summer. 2, she says, ended in dangerous crashes, including one last week.
It was wrecked so bad that it caught fire. I spoke to an officer there who informed me that there's nothing that they're going to do. So these families are out here hurting and being victimized without any justice. And being that my child is involved, I'm not going to sit back and not do anything.
Cherie says she reported all 3 thefts to police, but says they never followed up with her on any of them. She says her daughter and friends see that, which just emboldens them.
That is my biggest reason why I'm stepping out, because I know that there's a lot of other parents that's dealing with this.
Cherie doesn't have the names of the officers she talked to, and a police spokesperson tells us without that information, he can't address her situation. But on car theft in general, he says officers do their follow-up work between responding to 911 calls, and almost every shift is constantly short officers.
By email, Portland Police Lieutenant Nathan Shepard tells us, quote, "It frustrates us that we can't give the highest level of service we believe our community deserves. But with a growing population and the shrinking police force we've experienced the last few years, we sometimes can't provide the same level of service we used to. However, we'll keep trying." In the meantime, Cherie worries this trend of car thefts will only get worse and the consequences more serious. She hopes her daughter will finally listen.
I would rather to have her in juvie, knowing that she's somewhere that is more than likely going to be is safe for her, than to get that phone call that they found my child deceased somewhere, or that they have her in handcuffs because she's, taking the lives of someone else.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Well, you can feel that mom's pain. And now to another theft happening in Vancouver. Police say scammers are targeting car sellers on social media and then stealing their vehicles. We talked to Kim Kapp of the Vancouver Police Department, who explained the tactics being used.
And they want to arrange to meet in a parking lot to take a look at the car. Then a couple days later, or maybe shortly before the appointment, the quote buyer says, "Oh, I want to have my husband come out and look at the car." So the meeting takes place in the parking lot, and during that conversation, the suspect or the buyer gets the car keys, and before the seller can get in the car, if they're going to do a test drive, they take off with the car.
Vancouver police recommend car sellers meet buyers during the day, choose a spot with surveillance cameras, bring another adult for safety, and leave anytime they feel uncomfortable in the situation.
Back inside, and I was crying, and I told my dad, who was there, I was like, "I think I just saw someone die."
A neighbor reacts to a deadly shooting in McMinnville that began with a call about a man who was suicidal, police say, then ended with an officer shooting him. The deceased has now been named as 69-year-old Lawrence Dixon. We're starting to get some clarity here over what may have led an officer to pull the trigger. Tim Gordon with the story.
A police call for a suicidal man. Witnesses say officers arrived to find the man armed with a handgun. Then they heard a gunshot. Shortly after that, they saw officers performing CPR on the man on the sidewalk. Haley Paul's girlfriend heard the gunfire from inside Paul's apartment.
So I went out my back door, and it was right there. There were 4 officers with shields, kind of in a triangle, and they walked over and kicked a handgun, away from him, and then turned him over.
Oregon State Police are in charge of figuring out what happened. Their preliminary investigation indicates that at least 1 round was fired by McMinnville officers, striking the man, now identified as 69-year-old Lawrence Dixon. Paul recognized Dixon as someone who recently moved into an apartment on the 2nd floor of this building. And so this is a man that you had some exchanges with?
Yeah, a couple of times. I've run into him while I was walking my dog, and him and my dog would have a little scuff, but he was never like crazy or not lucid. Like he was a nice guy.
OSP says when McMinnville officers arrived, Dixon came out of the building and confronted them before at least 1 shot was fired. Haley Paul was sad to see it.
I ran back inside and I was crying, and I told my dad, who was there, I was like, I think I just saw someone die. And it wasn't, because whenever they're sitting there and they're trying to do compressions, it's not good. So, and any life being lost and seeing that it wasn't fun.
Tim Gordon reporting there. 2 McMinnville officers have been placed on administrative leave. That's the standard protocol. A multi-agency investigation is ongoing.
Now let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines. A person has been found dead in the gorge. This is in the Angels Rest Trail area that's east of Bridal Veil Falls. Multnomah County deputies say the body's at the bottom of a cliff and in a spot that's difficult to access. The sheriff's search and rescue team said they're attempting a recovery.
It's a very steep trail going up, like I said, about 2.5 miles, as well as the deceased is at the base of a fairly large cliff, and so there's no trail down to him, so it's going to be a lot of bushwhacking, off-trail work, so it will be tough.
Today's news comes just 5 days after a hiker died after falling 100 feet from a trail near the top of Multnomah Falls.
Well, to new images of a troubling drug trend in our area, so-called rainbow fentanyl, which was spotted in Portland earlier this month, has also been recovered in Tigard. Back on August 10th, Tigard officers say they arrested a man who had rainbow fentanyl on him. It is a new form of the drug that gets its name from its colors. Now, police say rainbow fentanyl is more dangerous than the counterfeit prescription pills we've been seeing because it is likely more potent and because kids can mistake it for sidewalk chalk or even candy.
And a car crashed into a coffee shop in North Portland early this morning. This is near North Killingsworth and Albina. Witnesses say the car ran over 2 curbs, hit 2 light posts, and ended up in the Coffee House 5 building. Customers were inside, though nobody was hurt, fortunately. Witnesses say the driver ran off. We talked to the car's owner, who says it was stolen. Police told us they haven't confirmed that detail yet and are looking for the driver. Now to the national abortion debate. A federal judge has blocked Idaho from enforcing part of a strict abortion ban. It means the state cannot prosecute anyone for performing an abortion in an emergency medical situation. And that court injunction is fairly limited in scope. The rest of Idaho's trigger laws and near total ban go into effect tomorrow. And that's something abortion rights advocates in both Oregon and Washington have been preparing for. As Christelle Kumwe reports, they're now expecting an influx.
Reproductive rights leaders gathered in downtown Portland Wednesday in support of abortion access.
Abortion is healthcare.
And to decry Idaho's abortion law.
The ban is devastating and cruel.
Idaho's near total ban on abortion is set to take effect on Thursday.
And even though abortion is legal and in statute here in Oregon, we cannot sit back. We must help our neighbors in other states.
Democratic candidate for Oregon Governor Tina Kotek joined the advocates at the press conference. She says the ban in Idaho will impact people who live in eastern Oregon close to the Idaho border.
And the impacts are immense.
Planned Parenthood Advocates of Oregon anticipates a 234% increase in out-of-state patients coming to Oregon if the ban goes into effect.
We also know that people coming in mean that people here in Oregon might be facing longer wait times, or that other essential and critical reproductive health care like family planning, well women's visits, pap smears might also face a little bit of press in time because of the surge in patients.
Executive Director Ann Doe says they welcome and plan to help anyone in need of care, but Oregon's healthcare infrastructure is not ready to meet that demand.
Christelle Coomway reporting there. So where do the other candidates for Oregon governor stand on abortion? Republican Christine Drazan told OPB she wouldn't comment on legislation that hasn't been drafted, but supports, quote, common sense regulations on abortion, including protecting life in the third trimester. As for Betsy Johnson, she told us on Straight Talk she is staunchly pro-choice and has served on the board of Planned Parenthood. Today, a big visit for D.C. political figure, House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy's in Portland, stumping for 4 GOP congressional candidates and bashing the policies he says led to Portland's rising crime. Earlier today, he had a roundtable discussion at a hotel in Tigard. Oregon has a new 6th congressional district, and Republicans see this as an opportunity to gain an additional seat or 2 in Congress after Democrat Kurt Schrader lost in the primary in the 5th district.
We've got new reaction tonight to President Biden's big announcement that he is canceling up to $10,000 in federal student debt. Now, this applies to people making less than $125,000 a year. The president calling it a game changer, also pushing back on critics who fear this will make inflation, which is sitting near 40-year highs, even worse.
I believe my plan is responsible and fair. It focuses the benefit on middle class and working families.
Low-income Pell Grant recipients can get up to $20,000 in forgiveness. Now, some say it doesn't go far enough. Others, like Republican Senator Ben Sasse, call it unfair, saying it forces working-class Americans to, quote, subsidize white-collar graduates, end quote. And we wanted to gauge the response to the news in Oregon. Here's some of what we heard.
10,000 is not going to even take a dent in that. I think how they came up with that decision is where everybody might be questioning. You know, education is important, and it should be, people shouldn't be stressed out about just trying to get an education.
And I don't think it really scratches the surface of the loans that I've heard friends of mine, you know, that they've built up over years and years of work.
I think it'll help all these kids because this generation, you know, they're not being able to buy houses, buy cars, they're renting.
Well, lots of perspectives. We're going to add one more here. Republicans criticizing the plan as an insult to Americans who have already repaid their loans. It is safe to say we are expecting to see some legal challenges.